This day I will remember forever, and I've never been able to block it out. The day that I was so desperate that I went to them and I tried to get them to help me. And I said, can you make Dave Mular stop? Because I didn't know what it was either. I didn't know it was sexual molestation. I was a child. Here's what I knew, and this is what I said to her. I said, Mom, ever since we moved here, when we're in the garage playing a game or something, he'll shut the garage door and he'll hold me down and he'll put his hands on me and he'll tickle me and all this other stuff. All these grooming things, all these things that abusers do. Those were the words that I said as a child, because that's the words that literally, there's no excuse. Nobody can say they didn't know that he was molesting me. I said, he comes out and he sits on his porch, wants me to go over and play, and I feel bad, so I go over and play.
I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna work harder.
And he'll sneak up out of nowhere, but he would sit out on the cement porch. This is how bold he was, and this is how bold abusers are. So adults wouldn't be outside a lot, but the adults didn't come out much. But this is how a lot of it functioned when I wasn't trapped in the garage. I could be playing in front of the porch and he'd come out and I wouldn't see it happening, but he would grab me and press me against him while sitting on the porch. And then he would dig his fingers into me and masturbate with my body on the front porch in broad daylight. Before I broke down and finally went to try to tell Mom, I was sitting on his lap. He had already grabbed me and he grabbed me. It was just a routine thing. It's what he did. He would grab me and press me into his body and molest me. And he would look around, and as soon as an adult opened a door, like he'd look over next door to our house, and if somebody opened the door, he would immediately release me. Like just let go completely. So he was always watching. He did it while there wasn't adults outside, and the second a door opened or an adult came, all he had to do was just drop me. Just release me. I remember one particular time before I started thinking about suicide. I didn't know it was suicide. I didn't know what it was called. I remember just wanting to die and thinking of things to do to make it happen, because I felt like there was no escape. I have a specific memory, detailed, in the moment where, even though he'd been doing it for years and it was just a routine thing, it never made it less horrible. It never made it less torturous. And that particular time, Mom actually opened the front door of the house. And for whatever reason, he didn't notice because he didn't look over like he usually does. I remember thinking, step out off the porch, Mom, step out off the porch. For part of me, just that he would let me go, because I knew when an adult walked out, it would mean he would let me go. So I would be trapped there on his lap being molested, and knew that my only hope was an adult walking outside of the house at some point. I went to her as a child, to my mom, and told her what was happening to me and what he did to me. And she sent me to Randy, and Randy sent me to Dave. Randy wouldn't take his eyes off the computer. Not when I was a kid. Not when I was being worked at Seton. You know, there was this thing I did in the years that I was still working at Seton, but I was a teenager at that point. And wherever we were, well, specifically wherever we were, I would have been younger, 13 or something, because it was in his marketing sales office. Literally, there was this game I made up at one point, even though a game isn't the right word for it, where I would go into the office, you know, because if I needed to ask for something or do something or whatever, I'd walk into the office and I'd sit down at the desk, and I would see how long the record could go for him noticing that I was there, looking over, saying anything. Sometimes I would sit in a chair at that desk waiting for him to notice me for like 45 minutes. But you know what? The second anyone else came up to the office door, walked in, immediately he'd turn and acknowledge their presence. What they did, I'm not even talking about the abuse they inflicted. That day, when I was 7 years old. And I went to her, and she sent me to him, and he sent me to my abuser, and then the abuse got worse, and I was molested for an additional 3 years. It didn't stop until we left, because we left.